Civilization series restarts. Welcome everyone. We're really far into this series, actually. But with this nation deciding they would invade into this blue nation. And not long after they start, they invite the other nations in. And this nation still thinks they have a chance against them. With the Green Nation being the first nation to make orders to launch an invasion. They move into this area. With the Orange Nation being told they can use two fronts to get in. Yeah. And well, in this nation then, as I deem this is a good way to deal with this nation. The Orange Nation is the nation they're most friendly to. That's why they let them go along the coast. As they launch another landing, quickly the man just sees the coast. Not all of it, but a big chunk of it. Well, the Orange Nation starts taking land. This nation knows it's a hopeless situation, but doesn't really care, as it withdraws from its puppet state, viewing it as a waste of resources. Basically. And well, they all move in. Well, this nation moves in to encircle the capital of this nation and take it. With the Green Nation's forces meeting up. And that happened. And with this nation seeing how hopeless it is, they decide to surrender. And for a minute, we're going to do this. Now to look into the peace treaty where they get partitioned. Not fully, but basically. And the Green Nation, the Orange Nation, decides to launch betrayal on their old ally for land. And their ally has nothing to do to resist it, as it quickly cave these territories. Well, the Orange Nation decides to invade them. Why, you may ask? Well, they decide to make a kind of colony thing over there, free a nation over here, and then puppet the rest. And because they have so many things, colonies, they change the color. We'll use a different color. And then this one, change the color because they basically decide to liberate them. Now, this nation here, you can see they're rivaling against. With them moving in. With a few unifications happening. Not much of it. Because, well, there's not much to unite. A few nations fearing this nation. But this nation eventually decides going against them, they aren't ready yet. So they decide to invade this country, quickly taking over an island, then another island. And then they take over here. And they land here and quickly move in, cutting it in half and then doing this to encircle the capital. Yes, the capital is actually landlocked. Because they fear being conquered. Seeing this, an ultimatum's made, but not big enough to make anybody fear it. Small enough to keep it in check. So they basically demand these lands. And these lands. Or war. with them agreeing they can have these lands. As negotiations go bad for them, but they still accept it. And then they quickly move troops. They just don't like this. They feel like this didn't go well and they're going to force it to go well. By any means. With this nation not expecting the sheer scale of it. With it basically being a war aimed at revenge, basically. With them quickly losing huge swaths of territory to these nations. You may be wondering what's happening here. Well, let's look at a few of them. This colony quickly falls. Other ones falls. This island falls. The colonial government of this colony surrenders. The other two, well, they declare their own republic. And, well, it's recognized by the nation. They're north as legitimate. The Orange Nation is recognizing stuff they probably don't need to be. As they start moving south to get to its capital. As they move here and take it over. Well, major areas of this nation start falling. Eventually, it's forced into a surrender. As they have to surrender to the Orange Nation. A nation that has before taken them down. So let's see the peace treaty. Are pretty similar. To sign to prevent further takeover. Or anything bad from happening to either of them. They decide to unite. This way they can guarantee both nations. And they incite a lot of discontent here before they quickly decide to invade. The nation to its south is not very happy about it. But they don't do anything because, well, they can't. As this nation is formed, and its rival is the Red Empire in that empire. And its enemy is that nation. Pretty weak, can't do anything about being its enemy. Well, this nation buys this land. As the other nation doesn't say it's valueless, but decides to give it because they don't need it, basically. Or so they believe. And then this nation they created, well, they decide to go ahead and annex it. And then they go ahead and annex that nation into its nation. As it directly annexes its northern two states here. And they see it as the best idea they have. You may be asking, what does this nation do? Well, actually, they do nothing. Even as they decide to annex these two nations. The Orange Nation is planning on invading them at some point, but not in this video. Well, after that, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment while the mapper out. Non-delay subscribe. Bye, guys!